Okay, so look like we are live here. So welcome everyone, the ones that we are here in the panel and the ones that you are on the other side looking at the recording. And here we are under Unlimited Network Mastermind that we do this every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And today is April 9. And the first thing that I want to do today is to keep celebrating Arne. Yesterday was his birthday, so let's just feel this, celebration of this man that is, from my perspective, big heart, and then, so committed to offer this space. He's the one that really opened the space like 3 years ago almost. We are doing this every Saturday. And thanks to you, Arne, we have this space, and you are the technical side, if you want, and the heart energy that is supporting all of this. So I want to celebrate you and to give the opportunity to everybody to celebrate you too. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And Happy New Year for you, I would say, okay? Full of prosperity, that at the end is the goal of our reunions, our meetings every Saturday. And as you know, right now we are working a book that doesn't allow us to escape from anywhere. The abundance book, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I thought, like you do a lot of work in your life, and it's true that when you know how to bring awareness to a concrete, concrete is limiting you or something like that, understand the release technique, that is what we are learning here. The freedom to liberate ourselves is a matter of bringing awareness to it and to let it go. And that's what we are learning in this journey here all together. And I just want to share, I mean, it's you have to have the book, I would say. So I really support you, or try to buy it and to have it, because it's very practical. And to have this list, of all the emotions that you can have, and to really go through it, I mean, this is a mastery, okay? So take the time to do it, and again, buy the book if you want. The next chapters also are going to require for us to write things down and to get very sharp, in what it is that is holding us back, and to really stop, the prosperity consciousness. So we have to let go the scarcity one, so the prosperity one can be here naturally, without effort. So I want to share a little bit what I'm learning so far here, especially for the ones that you don't have the book. I know some people there. So the first thing that we learn with the Abundance book is that all the old energies, all the density, limitations, all the scarcity consciousness wants to go back home. Home, say in source, light, wants to be released, wants to go back to the truth, capital letters, of freedom and abundance and balance and everything. So we played with this picture imagination that first, I think we need to be super aware of what it is that you sense. And as soon as you sense that you are thinking something limiting, or that you are feeling something that is discomfort or constrictive instead of expansive, well, what we are learning from this book is you put your head down, meaning that you disconnect from the mental noise, okay, and you offer space to what is in the moment as an experience. And you imagine, I love I've learned something from the book, or I integrate something from this book, and it's this image of the tube, going inside the earth, where you find the oil, and how when the tube finds the oil, that oil, goes out like, like it's hard to stop it. And what Lawrence Crane is teaching us here is almost like all these energies wants to go out like the oil. So I love when I feel something, like disappointment. I mean, this week for me is been, and I think I'm doing the journey here, intense, because I'm very aware of everything that, contracts, and sometimes I keep running the show on my head. And it's a matter of I'm willing to let go of that and I do want to come down and to open the window. In my case, coming out, flying, all this energy wants to go back home, but doesn't matter the image that you use. But the important thing is that you're willing to open the space and to let that go. And I tell you, it's constant. To me, it's like, wow, So one of the things that I'm very aware this week is the understanding that all the limitations come from our need of security, our need of being safe, and our survival mood. We don't know yet who we truly are, and our physical being is in a survival mood. So, to bring awareness to that, to make peace with that, to understand that you can't release that because we are bigger than that, and then to see what patterns are for you more frequent. Like in my case, the book is teaching us here that we can look for approval constantly, or for wanting control. You need to control so then you feel safe. Well, in my case, a lot about need of approval. And, I'm working for years on my own persona, right? But it's amazing, it's like this week was intense. So I just want to give you some personal experience here to support each other, that yes, we are just opening the window to this new approach, and we are learning how to master it. So that was need of approval, is need of control. What is really going on? And the need of approval was there. I mean, it's like, yes, So let go the need of approval, learn how to approve myself constantly. I love and approve of myself, and to start to build this new persona that feels safer, open, and more in connection with everything. So I'm progressing, but it was an intense week for me, and I just would like to hear if anyone would like to share something else before we continue to integrate this. Dr. Fran, to read more, maybe, I don't know, I remember that we can go through the energy scale of emotions, or the action, the scale of action, that I think we can master a little deeper. But if someone would like to share something to
I'd
make
like to
this very practical and useful for us, okay?
Go ahead, Candace.
I just wanted to say that this week, along with doing the work in the book, which is fascinating in its simplicity and its thoroughness and its how easy it is, I noticed new space opening up in myself, and feeling of a new capacity in me to experience life more fully, and really delighting in that, appreciating that. That's my 2 bits worth.
Thank you, Candace. Thanks. Arne? Yes?
And I have a technical comment. We have had a system before with internet where we always get cut off. So we started a new system today, and we have not been cut off, but it's going slow sometimes. So I'm turning off my video, but we have not been cut off. So I'm just turning off the video sometimes because it makes it easier for the internet. That's my comment.
Okay, thank you. We heard it.
Okay.
Okay, so if no one else opens the microphone here. Doc Fran, maybe you're ready to continue here to keep reading and teaching us how to integrate all of this.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone.
Yes.
And
welcome.
Thanks for sharing your experience this week, and Candace, the same with you. That was our homework for the week, was to really look at this chart of emotions And I want to read one little line from last week that kind of sets the tone for what we're attempting to accomplish in this chapter for ourselves. And that is to make imperturbability your goal. And if you look at the chart of emotions on pages 42 and 43, you'll notice a word at the top of the chart, imperturbability. That is the place where nothing and no one can ever bother us. Wouldn't that be kind of cool? Again, it's a place where you feel like you can have it all, a place where there are no impossibilities. And do we have any comments from our listeners, Arnie, in terms of what they may have experienced last week if they did this chart for themselves and really had a consciousness of it as they moved through their week and the events of their week, where they may have applied this chart of imperturbability to themselves on an active basis. So can you let me know if there's any comment there? Okay, well, I guess there wasn't, so that's fine. The thing that struck me, and we touched on it last week, was all of the various nuances of each of the 9 major categories. How amazing was it to start to develop an awareness of the subtle differences between stages of anger, for instance. We all know we're angry when we're fuming or furious. But would you understand that being resistant is actually a form of anger? And that's really kind of a key awareness to have, because we're constantly learning that we're moving towards a state of beingness where we are non-resistant, non-judgmental, and I forgot the third word. It just goes to show, man, this maturity is fun.
We're going with the flow.
Yeah, going with the flow, non-resistant, non-judgmental, and in a state of acceptance that is kind of the answer. And so, it really is interesting to understand and start to put the major category to any of these individual feelings or emotions that we have or feel. And we also talked last week, and just to rehabilitate that consciousness in us, that not only do we need to master the skill of letting the lower emotions or the negative emotions be aware, observed, and passed through our metaphorical window in our stomach or chest, but also the positive emotions. The goal of the game is not to get into the top 3 positive emotions and hang out there. It's nice to be there, but don't develop a pride about how aware you are, or how enlightened you are, or how serene you are, how blissful. And the example I gave is, I'm sure that all of us, when we have been in organized religion circumstances, there always seems to be 1 or 2 people who want to impress upon the rest of the group that they are the most blissful, aware, blessed, whatever. They're in the ecstasy of the Lord type of thing. And it was always funny to observe that kind of behavior. So let's move on then to, why is it important that we
Wait.
Go ahead. I hear you.
Yes, because you really inspire. Yes, you inspire me to share something, Doc Frank, here that maybe can inspire other people too. I don't know. But one of the things that I noticed this week is that when I get triggered by now I understand, but I didn't before. But by wanting approval, let's say, okay, I'm not aware that I want approval. The only thing that I know is that I become like mean, you know, like aggressive. Like my way of speaking is you know, like a very mean, you know, like not nice, not soft, not, you know, not flowing, you know, it's like stubborn and all that stuff. And I love to just relax into the understanding that it's okay. It's okay, not that I'm going to indulge the behavior itself, you know, but to understand the deeper Monica, you know, that aspect of me that is in so much need of approval. That's all, you know. So letting go that meaning, you know, like to speak aggressively or you know, like in a mean way, you know, when you, I don't know if you understand what I mean, it's like whatever, anger expressed, you know, verbally. And to make peace with that, okay, now I understand where I need to go is a little deeper to let go, you know, to let go the need, the wanting approval, constant, you know. I just want to say that because what you said, Prang, about going through all emotions here, and you're going to catch yourself from my experience here, you know, in several ones that are like, wow, and now we understand where they come from. So, you know, more compassion and easy. So thank you. I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
More than welcome, and that was very enlightening, as you said, because it was interesting that when you're feeling the need for approval, you're manifesting that as anger that you're not getting approval. And the very words that you used, if we look down the list of subtleties or viewpoints within anger, we find both aggressive and mean, which you use to actually describe the feelings that you identified within yourself. So, you know, again, awareness is the stepping stone to correction. I mean, you have to be aware of something before you can address it. So, very, very well done on that. So, why is it important? Why is it important that we recognize these tones, these emotions or feelings within us, and discharge them, both the bad and the good? And again, that's a judgmental thing, but there is a scale. We know that it's far more comfortable for us both as a physical being and a spiritual being to be in the emotions of peace rather than the emotions of apathy. So there is a relative scale without assigning goodness or badness to it. It's really just a question of when do you actually feel better or lighter without making judgments about it, and that's when you can be in these higher tone emotions the bulk of the time. And another thing I want to point out is that just as all life is dynamic, by that I mean it's constantly changing. You're not the same person 1 minute from now that you are right this instant, because there are physical changes, emotional changes, mental changes, state changes. There's billions of changes that are imperceptible to us that are occurring constantly within us and within our minds. So it is a dynamic, constantly changing state. The reason I make that point is you don't want to make it a goal to get to one of these feelings and then hang out there, you know, because that's as unrealistic as you know, as thinking that we're ever going to really master, you know, the true total spiritual awareness. Several individuals in time have great spiritual leaders and avatars, but for the bulk of us, you know, it really is the mastery of the journey, learning and applying to our best of our ability at each step of the way how to recognize and discharge these emotions and stay in a state of change or a state of dynamic progress. So it takes energy to hang out in these different emotional states.
I have another example.
Oh, go, Arnie, please.
Yeah, I have another example here that I've had an up so giving up, and then those feelings, and maybe this is, I wasn't sure I did the right thing, but according to what you're saying here, maybe I did. So I was observing myself being in these feelings, but at the same time I was aware of that, let's say God doesn't have those feelings right now. So I'm having those feelings, others do not have these feelings. There is still the beautiful God perception of the world that I see. Right now I'm in the disappointment, but I know that, and I can even sometimes catch a little bit like, yeah, the flower is beautiful. So I'm kind of have been dancing between the disappointment and recognizing, yes, I was stuck in that feeling, but I also saw a way that that was not the only reality. And that made me feel being able to get out of the disappointment. Do you have any comment on that, Dr. Fran?
Well, it's very important because having hope is one of the cornerstones to moving through this scale of emotions or chart of emotions. If you have no hope, you're going to be hopeless and you're stuck in apathy. Apathy is the worst place to be. And I was just listening to tapes by Eckhart Tolle, and he really told stories about the people who were striving to gain enlightenment. And one of the stories was about this king of a country who found himself constantly bouncing between euphoria and despair. Today we would describe that as a manic depressive type of behavior pattern. And so he went to the wise man and said, I want you to teach me to be always in euphoria, and I'll pay you anything, that, you know, whatever you ask, including my entire kingdom, I will give you for that ability. And the wise man was quiet, and then he said, I can help you with that, but the cost of it is so enormous that even your entire kingdom could never pay it. So I'm going to give it to you as a gift. And a few weeks later, he came back to the king, and he had an ornately carved jade box. And in that jade box was a gold ring with some writing on it. And on the ring, it said, this too will pass. And he said, here is the key to being always in euphoria. Whenever you feel yourself getting depressed or anxious or upset or overwhelmed or any unpleasant emotion, you simply rub your ring and read the words. And so, again, this leads back to the fact that life is a dynamic state. And no matter what is going on in your physical perception, in your mental state, in whatever condition you feel yourself or state you're in at that instant too will pass. And knowing that will let you be constantly in a state of hopeful expectation. Did that make sense?
It's funny because I actually had that and going through my mind also, that nobody's gonna remember this in 100 years. So that's the same thing. I had that as a part of this.
Another interesting fact that will really put the insignificance of ourselves and any upset that we're experiencing at the present moment is that we all know what the speed of light is, pretty fast, and it takes 2.4 million years for the light from the galaxy Andromeda to reach Earth. If that doesn't give us a perspective of the enormity of God, the enormity of creation, Andromeda is the furthest solar system away from our solar system. So 2.4 million years at the speed of light for that light to be perceived here. So isn't it wild to think that if you're an astronomer and you're looking up at light coming from Andromeda, you're actually looking literally in the now at an event that took place 2.4 million Earth years ago. So anyway, that explains a comment from Ron Hubbard. The will be was, what will be was. And it's always, I mean, it literally is amazing, because if we go 5 minutes from now and look at the light from Andromeda through a telescope, we're literally looking at something that occurred 2.4 million years ago minus 5 minutes. So it's just, it's mind-boggling. Thank God we don't have to contemplate that on a constant basis. All right, shall we move on then? So why do we want to master control over these feelings and the ability to discharge these feelings? Well, one is I've talked a lot about attention units, and when you have something unpleasant or troubling or confusing, any of those things where you have a misunderstood about something, you lock up attention units in that incident. And every time you lock attention units in a past event, they are not available to you to use in the now. And we all know that we can't change things in the past. We can only change things in the instant that we are here. We can't change things in the future. So doesn't it make sense that we would want to have all of our available attention units applicable and usable in the now for any type of problem that we perceive that we need to address? The other reason is, as we learn here from the energy scale of emotions, it takes energy to suppress the emotions that we're feeling. And we learn from Lawrence Crane in the first part of the book that most of us handle unpleasantness by suppressing it. And just to balance that, we're also trained from birth to suppress positive emotions. Don't get boastful. Don't get too happy. Don't get too proud. Don't get da-da-da-da-da. Don't feel too excited, because that's going to end. You know, this is going to end. Well, we do. We know everything's going to end. So it actually works both ways, why we want to master the ability to simply accept what is, observe it, and pass it through. And in doing that, we will allow ourselves to persist in longer and longer periods of joy. So, for instance, at the lowest level of the tone scale here, in apathy and all of the feelings associated with apathy, it takes between 95 and 100% of your energy to suppress and maintain an apathetic feeling. That leaves you 0 or 5% available for action. That's, I used to always say, and this really explains it to me, I've never met an energetic depressed person. You know, it simply doesn't happen. You know, and why is that? Well, they've got 0 to 5% of available energy or attention units, because what this is telling us is that 95 to 100% of our energy, which is thought, consciousness, is being absorbed in these apathetic states. There you go. Thanks, Monica. And then it starts to become less and less, but it's still very significant percentages of total available energy in the lower 6 tone scale states of mind or emotions. I mean, we're still using 60 to 70% of our energy to hang out in pride. And we learned really that pride is one of the nodal points on the scale, nodal being it's a pivot point. And it's a very common place for someone to get, and I guess basically end up with a false sense of enlightenment, because when you get to pride, you think you know it all, and you don't even allow yourself to look beyond and look for all of the stuff that you don't know, which is really the important stuff for any of us. Anything we don't know is important for us to seek out. And then finally, even when we get into what we consider to be the positive emotional states, we're still using up to 59% of our energy to hang out in courageousness, 34% to hang out in acceptance, and up to 14% to hang out in peace. So it really is illustrating how our natural inherent energy is diverted into the task of suppressing and keeping suppressed the feelings, past decisions, and past programs. Our mind, our computer, turns that energy to direct us into thinking and patterns of behavior which have been predetermined by those past decisions and programs, so that we lose our ability of free will to a large extent. So that's why it's important for us to have read the entire chart and notice if shifts in energy are occurring as you're reading it. Is there any word category that resonated with you? Look at that section again on the previous chart of emotions and put your head down and see if it stirred up a want, an unwanted energy, a resistance, or a clutching. So that was part of the charge from last week as well, is for each of us to determine where is our belief, where is our chronic pattern of, bye Jay, I'm sorry about that, where is our chronic pattern of emotion? Are we chronically in fear? Are we chronically in anger? Are we chronically in pride? And I would say that those are probably the 3 most common major categories for people to have as a baseline as adults. And we all know the reasons why that would be the 3 dominant patterns. So we want to make imperturbability. So how do we do it? Well, we work with this scale of action. And we want to start at the bottom, as I mentioned last week, beginning with apathy. And you move up the chart from the bottom to the top and notice the energy flow. Remember, I mentioned it's like a roller coaster. And we want to move up the page and then go to the bottom of the next column and come up the page. Move right, bottom of the column, move up the page. And that is the progression of emotional scale. So when you are, for instance, at abrasive or aggressive under anger, you're actually fairly high on the tone scale. And I've mentioned the tone scale before. That's what Hubbard in Scientology refers to this scale as, called the tone scale. And anger is really a pretty high emotion because you are in action. When you're angry, you're usually energetic. You can't be aggressive if you're not being energetic. So you actually are using more of your energy, even though it's actions taken in anger rarely produce the stable result sought. because you're coming from a state of lack, and you can't reach a state of have when you're coming from a base emotional state of mind of lack of something. So, you know, why do we want to do it? Well, we want to do it because when we look at the scale of action, it as well moves from the bottom to the top. And just to, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but you can, when you're in apathy, we withdraw and we don't do anything because we don't have any hope that any action is possible or productive. Therefore, we choose to take no action and hang out in a state of hopelessness. When you're in grief, we're looking for relief from grief. When you're in apathy, you don't even want relief from it. You've succumbed. You've surrendered. You've caved in. You haven't really surrendered. You just caved in, basically. You don't want changes. So the desire for someone to help us, because we can't do it ourselves. We need help. When we're in fear, we're starting to feel a need to strike out, but we don't have the energy or the belief that any action will be productive, and besides that, we may hurt ourselves in the process. And we know from a number of our behavioral teachers that we're all motivated by either a fear or either a want for pleasure or a fear or avoidance of pain. And we move up the scale, and again, we can start to see in just these little descriptions of that state of mind how the ratio between no action and some action is taking place. And we're releasing energy, therefore we're moving more from no action to action all the way through. They make a point, and I'm going to just kind of read through this because they have this kind of grayed out pyramid on the scale of action. The shading grows lighter towards the top. This illustrates how these emotions, suppressed over the years, are stacked in tighter and tighter as you reach the bottom of the chart. There are layers of feelings suppressed and covered up, one on top of the other. Every time we stuffed an anger, every time we stuffed a feeling of grief, every time we stuffed some ag flap, that's this apathy, grief, fear, lust, anger, and pride, the 6 lower emotions, the energy got suppressed and is now stuck in our memory banks. Well, we know that if we have stuck energy, those are attention units. It's not good. As we start unsuppressing by releasing, this energy starts coming up because it is not supposed to be there, and it wants to expend itself or release itself. It's important to be vigilant and allow the energy to come up. Don't judge it. It's not good or bad. It just is. It's just coming up so it can leave. And remember that every feeling wants to leave, even the top 3 positive feeling states. Be vigilant about it. It's like a Kleenex. I love this analogy. When you take a tissue out, the next tissue pops up automatically until the box is empty. That's exactly our goal in pulling the tissues of our emotional states out of ourselves as we go. And, you know, it's interesting just to carry that analogy one step further. What is heavier, a full Kleenex box or an empty Kleenex box? So as you keep emptying out the box, eventually the box gets empty. It's the same with these suppressed emotions. Keep letting them go, and eventually you empty yourself of these disturbing emotions, and you will come and you'll be home in a place called imperturbability, where there are no more feelings that bother you anymore. And again, we're moving more from solidity with our physical nature that we're very well grained in with from birth on to a progressive awareness and operation in our spiritual nature. And where are we going to be heavier? Well, we're heavier in our physical, obviously, because our spirit, while it has mass, it's light, imperceptible, nanograms versus pounds or stones. So feelings are not good, they're not bad, they're just passing through. So now, see if you're trying to figure something out. Could you let go of wanting to figure it out? And more. Could you let go of wanting to know what to do about it? Could you let go of wanting to know what the answers are? You might as well. You don't have the answer right now anyway. So you might as well let go and have answers by letting go of lacking. Notice if you've been disapproving of yourself. How many of us berate ourselves as our constant internal chatter? And I've often trained. Did we like it when adults yelled at us or berated us as children? When teachers berated us as students? Why on earth would we want to go through our life berating ourselves continually for perceived lack on any level? It just doesn't make any sense. But how many of us exist in a constant state of self-beratement? So, and you wonder why you're hanging out in lower tones of emotion. Well, you're reinforcing yourself constantly. So this is why this chapter is so critically important. And if you didn't take the time last week to work through it and start to understand it, then it might be worthwhile doing on a continuous awareness basis until you really do have a sensation of moving through and up and into a more stable chronic tone. Why is that important? Because I've trained again a lot of times that thoughts don't become things. Beliefs are what we actually manifest, and beliefs are nothing but thoughts we keep thinking, a chronic pattern of thought, and that becomes our belief, and our beliefs are the causative action for our manifestations. So if you let go of clutching and let go of resisting, you will discover they're just feelings. These feelings have been stopping us from having everything we want. They're just feelings. Just play around with that and you will discover that's all it is. It's just energy, and energy wants to pass through. It's not good, it's not bad. It just wants to pass through. Don't block it. Don't resist it. Don't throw a stone in the stream. Don't throw a boulder in a creek. And as we get rid of our wants or lacking feelings and desires that actually have been subconsciously stopping us, we will see that we will start to begin to have the sensation of abundance. And what kept happening to me as I was reading this, let go of this, let go of that, how many of us have heard that expression, let go and let God? And there is the underlying reality of the simplicity of that, because as we let go, we become God. We really do rehabilitate and begin to express and operate from that godness that is within each of us. So with that, turn the chapter over here, turn the mic over to Monica and see if we have some discussion.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you so much, Doc. I mean, I know you are a wise man, but to me, I enjoyed you a lot today to help me to, you are really supporting me to.
Monica, we lost your transmission, hon. So, Candace, do you have any comments after finishing the chapter here?
Pushing the button here.
Oh, go ahead, Candace. There you go.
didn't have much to say yet, but I really enjoy the reading and the flow and the pause for thoughts along the way, because adding personal experience into the words of the book makes it real. So that's what I've got at this moment. And maybe I think, is Monica back yet?
I'm here. It's funny because me and Monica, we were on the same line. But anyway, I thought it was fantastic, Doc Fran. The book is very, very, very profound. I almost want to say boring, but it's so profound and so deep, and the way you explain it and pull it out of there is just amazing. I love it. And you know, to allow the truth to come through us and not hold on to it. The key, that's history. We hold on and we have history, or we live in the now. How old are you? I don't know. I'm now. You know, so we are. That's where life takes place, and when you're in there, then you are what do you call, ageless. So, but to let go the attachment to recognizing the perception of seeing an emotion as solid and reality versus the perspective that Lawrence Crane is providing here. No, the emotion is no other thing than a tree, than a cat, than anything. It's just something that appears, but it's not the whole story. It's just a little part of the story. But we as humans have a tendency to hang on to the emotions as the only thing in our perception at that moment. And then we lose the truth, and we lose the ability to be in the next moment, because then we are stuck in history and revenge or upsetness or hopelessness. And so stepping in and separating, yes, it's an emotion, let it feel it, because it's not the whole story, and letting it go, I think that's a huge liberation. For me, I feel a little understanding of that now, and able to say, okay, now I feel angry. Well, it's not the whole story, but okay, feel the anger, because there is something else other than the anger. As soon as you felt the anger, you can see that too. So I think it's a great path here. I appreciate it. Are you on, Monica?
Yes, I don't know. Can you hear me? I'm not going to put the video
Yes,
because
yes,
it looks
we hear
to me
you.
that I'm getting cut off.
Yep.
Okay, great, great. So yeah, thank you so much, Arne. To me, there is nothing more important than to make all these masterminds practical. You know, like we can apply it, because we are all looking here to really experience that fulfillment in all aspects of our lives. You know, so I love it. And a lot of gratitude, I have to say. You know, I feel for the ability of these people. Lawrence Crane, you know, the teacher of Lawrence Crane, us here reading Doc Fran, you are incredibly marvelous, I will say, you know, because it's helping us, or it's helping me for sure, to bring awareness. It's like I was unconscious. Like, for example, if I have, it's like to recognize things here is so many that at the end I can only smile, you know, it's like, oh my gosh, Monica, okay, you know, I detach easier, you know, from all these aspects. Like when I read last in the scale of actions, I read from the bottom to the top, and I let myself to sense, you know. And in last, I said, you know what, maybe that's me, you know. It's like, look, the desire for possessions, wanting, the hunger for money, things, people, but with hesitation. This is me, you know, like, we may or may not reach out. So I'm dancing always between, you know, the spirituality free, whatever, I don't need to do anything, who wants, blah, 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 you know. And there is an underlying sense that we cannot, should not have it. And it's funny because this, you know, I can't, or powerless, or little me inside, you know, is really showing up lately, you know, like, wow. So to offer the space, to open the window, you know, to get the Kleenex out, you know, okay, you know, go back home. is a very compassionate, I think, attitude, for my own self, that I think I can extend to people, to understand that we are not bad people, we are hurt. There is things that are, like mistakenly understanding about who we are, and that's all. So the process of cleaning up becomes more impersonal, or that's what I'm experiencing myself, is like I can recognize, that I am mean, or that I am this or that, with much more space, less judgment than before, because the understanding is deeper, So I want to thank you. All this process is beautiful. Thank you, guys.
Well, you're welcome. It's very interesting, and your comments stimulated me to remember. Last week, I was privileged to take a racing clinic from a gentleman who is an Olympic sailor, medal winner, coach, extremely knowledgeable and successful. And he started out with the basics of successful racing, and he called it the ABCs. And A stands for anticipate. When you're on the course, in this case in a race course, or in life, anticipate what might happen next. And then B is breathe. And it's very interesting. You breathe, 3, 4, 5 times, and keep your consciousness on your breath. And that brings you into the now. That brings you into an awareness of being in the now. And it provides you with a stable, peaceful base to take step C, which is control, so that you can anticipate, breathe, be peaceful, and then control whatever occurs next in your scale of anticipation. And Eckhart Tolle, in the tapes that I listened to this week, talks about the power of breathing. And in order to really calm your mind, a very simple technique is just to stop and become aware of your breath. Our breath is an automaticity. It's a background action that we're largely unaware of, the fact that we are taking respirations, constantly. Inhalation, exhalation, inhalation, exhalation, inspiration, expiration. So when you focus on your breath, you come into the now and you calm your mind. And that is where inspiration occurs. It's really fascinating how all of this overlays and comes out as expressions of these little old wives' tales or aphorisms or common sayings, and the deep meaning behind the simplest things, like let go and let God. So, it's fascinating that is the complexity and yet simultaneously the simplicity of our life. So, Arnie, take it over.
Yeah, when you focus on the breath, you can say you're focusing on the breath, but you can also say that you're stopping thinking. And when you stop thinking, then you're in the now. You're one with your source. So maybe the breathing is actually just a good trick to get you to stop running the show in your mind of thoughts and being busy bees.
Well, where it's very important is when you find yourself in that emotional state of anger, and particularly in a high-level anger where you're being aggressive or sarcastic or argumentative. How many of us have heard the old training that, when you're angry, stop and breathe, count to 10 before you respond, because we do know that any action taken from a base of low-tone emotion is an action that is fruitless. It produces nothing of value or sustainability. It produces nothing but more low-tone occurrences. So the action of breathing, counting to 10, allows us to gain control over that emotional state and move into a response which is more measured and potentially productive than that taken from a flash of anger. So, well, guys, I think we had a very productive day here today. Thank you for the kind words, and thank you for your participation.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I do.
Okay, great, perfect. Well, yes, we are ready here to complete. Let me see if I turn this camera on. Oh my gosh, I have so many faces here. Well, the thing is, I multiply, you see. But I want to say thank you, because one of the things that I'm really getting from this journey, this concrete book, is I already know that awareness is key, but this is bringing me to be awareness of what is limiting me, you know, and to really practice to let that go. So I just feel a lot of gratitude and ready, and I would suggest like read this chapter again before next week for all of us here to keep mastering, you know, if you detect yourself in the need of control or need of approval, whatever is your category, to make friends with it. So you know that is a gift. It's your door to freedom, really. So have a wonderful week, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Remember, if you want to be in the panel, email Arne, A-R-N-E, @unlimitednetwork.com so we can play here all together, and send any questions, any comments to that same email address, arne@unlimitednetwork.com. And we see each other next Saturday. That will be April 16th. So have a wonderful week, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye now.
Bye. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye. Thank you, everybody.